Hey guys, welcome to Fanfic Fanatics. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku became Assasin and fell for Ochako? MHA x Assassin's Creed. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Welcome to the Brotherhood by Emmanuel Lucas 236. Izuku's narration. Our story begins with an eagle flying through the clouds, with the wind whipping its feathers on a sunny day. And as the eagle flew, we heard our protagonist's voice. In a world where 80% of the population was born with mysterious powers, which we call quirks, there is a boy, which is me. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and my dream was to be a hero. But I had a problem. 80% of the population were born with these powers, the remaining 20% were normal people, and I was unlucky to be born as part of that percentage. With that, my life changed several times, and I believe you already know what happened, but there was a change you don't know. I thought that in my world there were only heroes, villains and vigilantes, but I was wrong. That day, I met two organizations, and I was part of one of them. Before I was just a young man-boy who dreamed of being a hero, but now. I am someone who works in the dark to serve the light. I am someone with a blade that is far from the flesh of the innocent. You can call me a villain, a vigilante or a murderer, but know that it doesn't matter to me anymore. What matters now, is that I do it for the good of the innocent. The story that will be told, will be when I discovered the existence of the Assassin's Creed. As Izuku narrated, we saw that eagle flying with its wings wide open as it passed between the trees until it reached a feudal tower, and inside it was in pure chaos. You could hear shouting, feet tapping the ground as many men were descending in that place as they followed someone, who jumped from that tower and ran next, and he was carrying a bag that was hanging on his waist. The guy who was running was a man who appeared to be over 20 years old, had black hair, brown eyes, a short beard and had fair skin. He was wearing a black outfit known as the hakama, a very traditional Japanese dress in the samurai days. This man kept running from those men who were running after him while trying to shoot an arrow towards him, but this man managed to find a way to avoid getting hit, like now for example when one of his pursuers shot an arrow, but ended up hitting a tree next to the man. The guy kept running until this man stood in the middle of a wooden bridge and stopped running when he saw that in front of him, which is the other side of the bridge, many of those men were there, waiting for him. He looked back and saw that those who were following him, stopped on the other side of the bridge. He was cornered. Hero. The man, known as Hero, looked back and saw someone wearing samurai armor in front of those men, until he took his mask off and revealed himself to be a man who looked to be over 50 years old. Hand over this manuscript now, Hero, he said as he extended his hand and walked towards Hero. Hero. No, you already know me, you already know I won't do this, he said while holding tight the bag that was with him. Do you want this here? And for what? To control people. Stop being stubborn. Can't you see that with this we can put order and finish off our enemies as quickly as possible? What I want is the best for all of us. Hero. Best for all of us, or best for you? He asked with a serious look. I know what this thing you want does, and I don't want that power in the wrong hands, even in our own hands. There are things in this world that are better left where they are, he said as he prepared to do something risky, and everyone noticed it. Hero. Don't do this. Hero. I'm sorry. It was the only thing he said before jumping on the side of the bridge. The problem was that this bridge was quite high. Hero. The other man shouted desperately. All those ran on the side of the bridge, and saw that Hero had his arms outstretched as he fell towards the river that was connected to a waterfall. Until one of those men took his bow and arrow, aimed at Hero and oddly enough, managed to hit Hero in the back, who felt the pain of the arrow hitting his back, but continued in position and dived into the river. And the last thing we can see right now is Hero's body still plunging into the water, with him struggling to the surface as we see his blood splattering at the bottom of the water. Present days. Still in Japan, we are currently in the current era. Current era where there is technology, tall buildings, televisions, cell phones and above all, heroes and villains. We are at the time where our beloved protagonist lives. Speaking of him, where is he? You must be asking me. Well, let's move on to the UA. More specifically, for Class 1A dorms. Inside, in our protagonist's room, we see him sleeping peacefully when suddenly, He wakes up abruptly while the red lines of One for All were around his right wrist as he took several deep breaths. Until he calmed down and remained sitting on his bed while looking at his right hand. Izuku. Again those strange dreams, he thought as he looked at his hand a little before looking at nothing. But why does this still persist? Until he heard the sound of someone knocking on his bedroom door just before he heard someone else's voice. Hey, Izuku, are you awake? On the other side of the door, Izuku heard the voice of a girl he knows very well. Izuku. Yes, Ochako. I am. Hearing the greenish boy's voice, the brown-haired girl known as Ochako Uraraka enters the boy's room while wearing her uniform. Ochako. Good morning, she said with a smile as she closed the door behind her while hiding something behind her. Izuku. Good morning, Ocha. Why are you in uniform? He asked with a raised eyebrow. Ochako. Apparently you were sleepy again. Hee. Izuku. Huh. Izuku took his cell phone from the booth, and saw that it was time to go to class. Izuku. Oh boy, did I miss breakfast again? Ochako. Unfortunately yes, and everyone must be on their way to the classroom, but, Ochako showed what she was hiding behind her and it turned out to be a sandwich. I know it's not a big deal, but I didn't want you to have an empty stomach. Geez, so, I made it for you, she said with flushed cheeks as she offered the sandwich to Izuku. Izuku, who was sitting on the side of his bed, blushed but was also happy with the girl's attitude, and of course, he accepted her sandwich gratefully. As he ate, Ochako sat next to him and stared at her beloved for a little while before asking. Ochako. Did you have weird dreams again? She asked in a worried tone. Izuku. Yes, Ochako. What's up this time? Are you sure you're not having nightmares? Izuku. I don't really know what I'm dreaming about, it's a lot of random things happening. If they were nightmares I'd be terrified right now, but, they're not. He said with a serious and thoughtful look while looking at the wall. Maybe my head is racing after everything that happened to us, you know. USJ, the sports festival, the camp, and what happened in Camino. Sigh, I never thought my life would look like this when entering here in UA. Ochako. Yeah, neither do I. But what matters now is that we're fine. She said determined and excited, which attracted Izuku's attention. Whatever the next obstacle that appears in front of us, we will overcome and be heroes. Plus Ultra Mode, right? She said that last part while extending her fist to Izuku, who was amazed at the girl's words just before she smiled and slammed his fist into hers. Izuku. Right, Ochako. Okay, I'll get your uniform while you keep eating, she said as she got up. Izuku. What? And no, you don't have to this. Izuku said that for the girl not to be doing everything for him today since she made the sandwich for him. Ochako. Too late, she said while winking at Izuku, who decided not to persist. Izuku watched his lover take the boy's uniform while he was admiring the girl. A lot has happened between them since they met. Before they were colleagues, then they became best friends and now, lovers. Until Izuku got a possible wrong thought out of his head as he went back to eating, but, suddenly, he got a strange feeling. Izuku. Why do I feel like something else is going to happen? By the time he finished eating, Izuku was wearing his uniform. Of course, Ochako had to leave the boy's room while he changed, so she was waiting for him on the other side of the door. And seeing the door open, Ochako saw Izuku dressed in the uniform. There was only one problem, he couldn't tie his tie. Ochako. Want some help? Izuku. And no, I'll manage. Just wait a little bit, he said while trying to fix his uniform tie, but today he was so flustered and thoughtful that he wasn't getting it, which was frustrating him. Oh, are you kidding me? Ochako. I help you. No sooner said than done. Ochako stood in front of Izuku, who was not only blushing but also surprised by the girl's action. It didn't take long for the girl to finish what Izuku was having a hard time doing. Ochako. Done. It's much better now, Izuku. Gee, thanks, Ochako. Seeing what she did and seeing how close they were to each other, the two stared at each other while blushing, but even so, the two remained motionless. That is until slowly, the two brought their faces closer to each other. Both felt their breaths as the girl's hands came into contact with Izuku's chest, even with the pinky fingers spread apart. Both closed their eyes and it didn't take long for the lips of the two to join, thus giving a very quick kiss, but there was a lot of love and affection in that kiss. And when they separated, the two stared at each other while their cheeks were flushed a little before giving a slight smile. "Ochako, we'd better go. We'll be late if we stay here all the time," she said as she walked ahead. Izuku, on the other hand, remained still while looking at the girl, who continued walking. Until he looked at the UA dorm's hallway window, and saw the blue sky while an eagle flew by while it seemed to be looking at the boy, which Izuku found a little strange. He had seen that eagle a few times and always noticed that it seemed to look at the boy every time it flew by. But he put that aside and remained with a serious look as he tore his eyes away from the window and looked at her right wrist. "Izuku, whatever the next obstacle we have in front of us, we will overcome, right?" he thought as he clenched his fist tightly. He was sensing something was going to happen, but what was it? "Ochako, aren't you coming, Izuku came out of his thoughts and saw that Ochako was in the front as he seemed to wait for the greenish one, who put those thoughts out of his head and walked towards the girl, so the two continued on their way to the classroom. Already that eagle that Izuku saw in the window kept flying far away. Far enough from the O. And while passing over many buildings, the eagle stopped flying and landed on the arm of a man who was wearing a hood while he was standing on top of a building. In the city of Musudafu everything was proceeding normally. People were walking around the city, whether for work, going out or for fun, while the police and heroes were doing their jobs like real professionals. The real problem is that hours ago, TV screens and even the city's big screens were hacked and showed a suspicious video, and because of that, police cars advanced towards a specific place, the UA school. That hooded man with the eagle also saw everything, and already knew what was happening. "So they really did," he said with narrowed eyes as the eagle made his song. Back at UA, Izuku and Ochako were walking normally as they arrived at their classroom. But before they could open the door, the two of them heard screams coming from inside, what sounded like a fight or an argument. "Bakugo, where is that Deku? Where's that damn thing? Kirishima. Bakubro, wait a minute. There must be a misunderstanding. Kaminari. Misunderstanding. You saw the recording too. Momo. Guys, let's calm down, please. Mina. Toru, you texted Ochako, didn't you?" Toru. "Yes, but she didn't answer. I told her to come as soon as possible." As Izuku and Ochako listened to their classmates' voices, the more they became confused as they looked at each other. Even reluctantly, Izuku opened the door, and as he did so, everyone in the classroom looked at the door and saw Izuku and Ochako entering. "Ochako, we hear screams outside. What's going on?" she asked, curious and worried. "Tenya, Uraraka, get away from him," he yelled while pointing at Izuku, who was confused. "Izuku, wait a minute, what's going on?" he asked before Mina and Toru took Ochako away from Izuku. "Mina, please stay away from her." "Ochako, guys, what's going on?" "Bakugo, well, look who decided to show up." Besides being useless, this Deku also turned out to be a traitor, he said angrily while trying to get closer to Izuku, but he was being stopped by Kirishima. "Kirishima. Bakugo, wait a minute, bro. Izuku. Wait a minute, what? Mineta. It's no use pretending to be innocent, Midoriya. We already know you betrayed us." Mineta was on top of his desk while pointing to Izuku. "Zero. Man, I didn't expect this from you. Bakugo. So it was you all along who gave information to the villains. You made them kidnap me that time at the camp. And why? Oh, let me guess, were you jealous of my achievements, huh?" he asked in a mocking tone. Yuga. As they spoke, Aoyama was quieter. For once, he wasn't smiling. He looked sad and scared, but no one noticed. "Tenya, I thought you were our friend," he said with a contemptuous look. "Izuku. What are you guys talking about?" Increasingly, Izuku and Ochako were confused. "Mina. We're talking about it here." Mina took her cell phone and showed a recording that was posted on the internet. It was a cell phone recording that was recording one of the big screens in Musudafu City, and on the big screen it showed that Izuku Midoriya was handing over information and files to one of the League of Villains members, Kurogiri. And when the big screen video ended, the screen went back to normal and cell phone recording ended. Izuku was shocked and in disbelief at what he saw. That young man in the video looked a lot like Izuku Midoriya, but it wasn't him. Why are the League of Villains setting him up like this? Ojiro, how can you do to us, man? He asked, sad and disappointed. Izuku, but it wasn't me. Bakugo, how could it not be? It looks a lot like you. Izuku, I know, but I swear this isn't. Tenya, stop with this, Midoriya. It would be much wiser if you turned yourself into the police now, he said while standing next to Ochako, who couldn't believe what he was seeing on Mina's cell phone. Izuku, believe me, that's not me, he exclaimed as he pointed at Mina's cell phone. Please believe me. Bakugo, stop pretending to be innocent, you trash, he yelled as he let go of Kirishima. You will pay for this, traitor, he yelled while trying to unleash an explosion on Izuku, who tried to defend himself, but the explosion didn't come out in the explosive blonde's hands. And before anyone else said anything, Shota, that's enough, Bakugo. Everyone turned to the door and saw Aizawa with red eyes, thus nullifying the Bakugo's quirk. But what worried most of the students is that behind Aizawa there were two policemen. Bakugo, allow me to attack him, Mr. Aizawa. He's the traitor, he said while pointing to Izuku while some agreed with Bakugo. Shota, shut up and let us work it out. Young Izuku Midoriya, you're under arrest, said one of the policemen. Izuku, wait, listen. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's not me. And do you have any proof that that's not you? Asked the other policeman. Izuku, no, I don't, but there must be some villain that disguised himself as me. Please, all of you need to trust me, he said as he looked at everyone around him. Nezu, I'm sorry, young Midoriya. Nezu appeared among the police and he had a serious look. But until we have proof that you are innocent or the knowledge that there is a villain with that kind of quirk, unfortunately you are under arrest. Nezu said that with regret. He and Aizawa believe Izuku is innocent, but they have no proof. Izuku was speechless, so he was downcast. He felt grounded. He couldn't believe what was happening. But the one who didn't want to believe it was Ochako. Even watching the video, she could feel that this wasn't Izuku, but what could she do since there was no way to prove it? Not wanting to run or fight, even more knowing that it would only make the situation worse, Izuku decided to surrender. The officers handcuffed the boy and made him walk. Izuku felt worse when he heard some whispers coming from some of his classmates, talking about him being a traitor or villain. And when looking, some of them looked at him with contempt, disappointment or hurt, like Bakugo and Iida were doing, for example. And others looked at Izuku in shock or disbelief, like Ochako for example. On the way, other classes from other courses stood in the way and watched the greenish man being taken away by the police while Nezu and Aizawa followed them. Some didn't believe it or were in doubt if he was a villain and traitor, such as Shinso, Hatsume, Big 3 and some 1B students. Already most were making contemptuous comments towards Izuku, who was feeling like he was in Aldera, again. They just didn't do anything to him because the cops, Nezu and Aizawa, weren't allowing it. Outside the school building, Izuku not only saw other police cars but also saw another person arriving. Toshinori Yagi. Izuku, All Might. Seeing former number 1 hero in front of them, Izuku was worried about what he would do. Toshinori approached towards the group with a serious look and said, Toshinori, excuse me officers, but can I talk to this one for a bit? May I know why? All Might, one of the police officers asked suspiciously. Toshinori, I just want to talk to him. Don't worry, I won't let him go. The police officers looked at each other, nodded, and walked away a little while waiting to take Izuku, who faced Toshinori with fear and worried about what he would do. Izuku, All Might, I swear I don't. Toshinori, hey, calm down, young Midoriya, I know it wasn't you, but I need you to stay calm, he said in a whisper that only he, Nezu and Aizawa could hear. Izuku, what are they going to do to me? He asked worriedly. Toshinori, they'll take you to Tartarus, he said with regret and concern. Izuku, what? Hearing where he would be taken, Izuku was terrified. He knows very well where Tartarus is. Toshinori, because of what happened this year and because they think it's your fault, they'll take you there, especially since you're 18 old. Upon hearing this information, Izuku was terrified and hopeless. He was about to panic, even more knowing and feeling that possibly, he lost everything. Toshinori. But listen to me, Toshinori's comment caught Izuku's attention. I have a friend who can help. His quirk allows him to detect who is lying and who is telling the truth. With his help, we can find a way to prove his innocence. Nezu. We'll do what we can to prove you're innocent, young Midoriya. Shota. We can only ask you to hold on a little longer, he said with a serious look. It didn't look like it, but he was worried. Hearing those words, Izuku became a little calmer, but even so, he didn't like the idea of having to go on Tartarus. But seeing that the principal, his idol and his teacher believe him to be innocent, Izuku decided to go, but before the cops took him away, Izuku. Everyone turned around and to everyone's surprise, especially Izuku, who appeared was Ochako, who was running desperately to the boy, but was prevented from proceeding by Toshinori. Toshinori. Young Uraraka, no. Ochako. Something's wrong. I'm sure he wouldn't do that, she said while looking at the police. Izuku. Ochako. It was the only thing he said before being taken away by the police and being placed in the car. Ochako tried to do something, but the problem was, what could she do? All she, Toshinori, Nezu and Aizawa could do was just watch Izuku being taken away while the squad cars avoided some reports that were at the gate. But what weighed heavily on Ochako and Toshinori was Izuku's gaze and expression. It looked like he wanted to cry, but he was avoiding it as much as he could, and seeing him taken away like that, it only made it worse. In the news channels that were showing on televisions in Japan, there was only comment about the recent event. Izuku Midoriya is being arrested for betraying the UA. Many people were angry with the boy for accepting that he is responsible for what the League of Villains put the students in danger. But he had few who weren't believing it. At the Midoriya's house, Inko was watching the news with an expression of shock and disbelief as she had tears in her eyes. She knew that Izuku would never do that, and worse, she already suspects who might be responsible for this. In the dining hall at Tartarus, Stain was standing while looking at the television that hung on the wall. Oh, great, one more is coming over here, said one of the Tartarus prisoners who were seeing the news. Hey guys, more new meat is coming this way, said one who was smiling while looking at the TV. Stain wasn't giving a damn about the other prisoners' comments. He continued to stare at the screen as he listened to the news with narrowed eyes. And hearing everything, including seeing that video of Izuku's supposed betrayal. Stain only thought of one thing. Stain. Abstergo, he thought while clenching his teeth and fists. In the Abstergo Japan building, in a room that appears to be the head of the building, a man was looking at the notification on a large screen that was in his room while he was looking serious and expressionless. We've already paid for the League of Villains, Grandmaster. Grandmaster. Then it's time to start the second phase of our plan. Go get this boy, he said while looking at Izuku's face. Of course, Grandmaster, but if I may ask, what do we do with the League of Villains if they get mad? What if the assassins act? Asked a woman who was behind said Grandmaster. Grandmaster. In case they get mad with us and decide to attack us, kill them all. Now go, he said without looking away from looking at the screen. The woman bowed as she left the room and spoke to someone on the communicator at her ear. The said Grandmaster remained where he was while looking at the photo of Izuku that was being shown on the screen on the news channel. Grandmaster. You'd better collaborate with us, young man, he said with a serious look. Back at the UA, after seeing that Izuku had been taken, Nezu looked at Toshinori. Nezu. All Might. Toshinori looked at Nezu. You already know what to do. Toshinori. All right, sir, he said as he walked away, took his cell phone and tried to call Tsukauchi. Ochako. Mr. Aizawa. Aizawa looked at Ochako and saw that she was clearly worried. Ochako. Deku will be okay. Shota. If all goes well, I hope so, he said while looking at the gate that was closed because of security. That way the media wouldn't bother them with questions. Ochako, on the other hand, kept her hand in the way while thinking about Izuku. She wanted to do something. She wanted to find a way to prove it and think of a possible suspect in mind, but she didn't know anyone. But one thing couldn't get out of the group's mind. Why did they do this to Izuku? Aizawa looked at Ochako and decided to take her to the classroom, even though they both didn't want to go. The girl took one last look at the gate just before walking Aizawa into the building. Toshinori. Come on, Tsukauchi, pick up. Please, hurry up, he said with his cell phone to his ear while he waited for the detective to answer the call. But to Toshinori's frustration, Tsukauchi didn't pick up. Damn it. Nezu. What's up, All Might? Toshinori. It's the 5th time I've been trying to get in call with Tsukauchi but he's not answering my calls, he said frustrated and impatient. Nezu. Maybe he's busy, isn't he? He asked curious and suspicious. He didn't have a good feeling about it. Toshinori. It's possible. You know what, I'm going to meet him. We can't wait like this, he said as he walked to his truck. Oh, and if you find out anything else, sir, let me know. Nezu nodded as he watched Toshinori get into his vehicle and drive away to meet Naomasa. But before Nezu can go inside, think or do anything else, he hears the sound of his cell phone coming out of his pocket. And upon seeing who it was, Nezu suspected, as if he knew that person would call him. Nezu answered the call, put his cell phone to his ear and answered. Nezu. Hello. They took the boy, didn't they? On the other end of the line, a man's voice was coming out. Nezu. Yes, I'm sorry, but I couldn't do anything without proof. It's okay, Nezu. We already know you couldn't do anything and you did your part well. Besides, we know who did this. Nezu. The Templars. Do you think it was them? No doubt about it. Even if it wasn't them, I bet they'll take advantage of the current situation and go after the kid. We have to do something before Abstergo pulls the kid in there and uses him. Quote, Nezu. Don't worry, Grandmaster. All Might knows someone who can help clear young Midoriya. He's already on his way to meet him. Actually, I had another idea in mind. The man's comment left Nezu confused and curious. We were thinking of having our assassins take the boy out of there. Nezu. What, are you sure about that? With all due respect, but we're talking about Tartarus, sir. We're going to risk losing the few assassins we have here in Japan. For obvious reasons, Nezu was worried. I understand your concern, but I know what Tartarus is like, Nezu. We have assassins there who stayed to study the place. We know how to get in and how to get out. Nezu. But are you sure you want to do this? We can use our easiest solution with Tsukauchi, sir. Question mark. The Templars got him. The voice said with regret, and this information left Nezu in shock as he was left with wide eyes. That's why I'm warning you that we will make our suggestion. I will send our best assassins to go get the boy. Not only to prevent Abstergo from taking him, but also to save him, and reveal the truth. Nezu clenched his fists as he closed his eyes in regret. Nezu. So the time has come. Yes, Nezu, the time has come now. On the other end of the line, we can see the appearance of the man who was talking to Nezu on the cell phone. He appears to be 50 years old and he was on top of a building as he and an assassin behind him looked at the police car that had Izuku Midoriya inside. The assassin who was with him was a man who appears to be over 30 years old as he was wearing a black coat with a hood on his head as he watched the same police car. It's time to show Izuku Midoriya the truth about who he is, he said with a serious look as he saw that same eagle that Izuku saw flying in front of the two men. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you, acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. Our ending begins with Izuku looking up at the top of a building while he was in a different outfit with a hood, and apparently none of the civilians recognized him. Until Izuku saw a silhouette of someone wearing a hoodie that looked like him, and it showed that he was also looking at the top of the building. And both of us had serious expressions on his faces. It's my own design. It's my own remorse. Help me to decide. Help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule the world. Here we see the two of them climbing to the top of the building in different ways. While in the present time we see Izuku going up the stairs while some people were recognizing him and sending some guards to go after him, even though Izuku didn't care. Already in the past tense, we see that hero was climbing while climbing, even with him getting shots from arrows which he dodged. At the top of the building, we see that Izuku reached the top as he stood on the edge of the building as he looked down. And on his side, we see the silhouette of that same assassin from the past, and he did the same thing that Izuku did, even though he wasn't actually there with Izuku. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. When they do, I'll be right behind you. So glad we've almost made it. So sad they had to fade it. Already here we see the assassins of modern times and of the past fighting their enemies. With current assassins attacking with punches, and those of the past attacking with swords. Hiro and Izuku were in the middle of the battlefield as they battled in due course, with Hiro killing his enemies with his katana and Izuku killing with his hidden blades. As they waited for their enemies, Izuku and Hiro had their backs to each other, even though Hiro was a silhouette. While Izuku showed off his hidden blades, Hiro showed off his katana as the two faced their enemies in his front from their times. Everybody wants to rule the world. Everybody wants to rule the world. Everybody wants to rule. Back in the present time, we see that Izuku had his eyes closed as he opened his arms as the wind hit his entire body as he took a deep breath. Izuku was in a cross shape as he prepared to do the leap of faith. The security guards who were coming after him reached the top of the building, but before they could do anything, our imaginary fanfic camera takes a close-up on Izuku's face, who had his eyes closed just before opening them quickly with a serious and determined look. The world. But before we could see anything, the screen goes black and we see the title of our new story. Assassin's Creed. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Back where we left off, we see that Izuku was still inside the car as he tried to calm himself by breathing and exhaling calmly, and it was working, even if it was little. He looks at the window and the boy gets a serious and worried look to see that he has arrived at his new destination. A prison complex built on the high seas 5 kilometers away from the city. The prison made for people who did extreme things, and Izuku was heading there, in Tartarus. Does it seem pretty exaggerated for an 18-year-old to go there? Yes, but due to the frame that someone made against him, due to the events of this year, where several students could have died, now everyone thinks he is responsible for it. But why did they do this to him? Why did the League of Villains decide to do this to him? Because now, Izuku was full of questions on his mind, but he stopped thinking when he saw someone he saw this morning again, that same eagle, which was hovering close to the vehicle as she stared at Izuku, who was not understanding at all. Inside the Tartarus, Izuku was being taken in by 2 guards, who would make the boy change clothes and register as a detainee. Inside, as expected, there were many guards and security cameras, and when registering and changing into a prisoner's outfit, Izuku was being led away by a guard, who was silent. In the corridors, the cell doors are steel-lined, and inside the cells you could see some of the worst keepers of all types, and some of them Izuku recognized. Like some villains that were at USJ, Muscular and Stain, who he saw being taken and got serious, which worried the Greenish. As hearing the guard's voice, Izuku stopped walking and saw the door of his cell in which he opened by himself. And when opening, the guard looked at the security camera, which left Izuku confused, and saw that the small red light that was on the camera was off, and upon seeing this, the guard looked at Izuku and said, "In between," he said while making way for Izuku, who crept down, entered the cell without saying anything. Inside, there wasn't much, just what would be a bed, made of steel that was connected to the wall. But before he could sit down, the guard said something. "Izuku Midoriya, right?" The guard's question made Izuku turn around. "Listen, I know you're innocent." Izuku. "What? How do you know that?" For obvious reasons, Izuku was shocked by what he heard as he took the handcuffs from the boy's wrists. "I want you to know something. The cell door will be locked, but we will unlock it soon, so don't do anything until the signal comes." Izuku. "Signal? What are you talking about? I just want you to just wait." "Got it," he said as he left the cell and was going to close the door, but Izuku. "Wait a minute. How do you know I'm innocent? And what are you doing? Don't get me. I'm grateful that you're doing this, but why me?" he asked, very curious and intrigued. "I only know the truth, young man. And know that you have become our property now." The man's words left Izuku curious and confused. "Now be quiet and wait for my signal." It was the only one he said before reaching the cell door. Insert soundtrack. Future Glory, Jed Kurzel. In the hallway, The guard put his finger to his ear, which had a communicator, and spoke to someone through it. "Are you listening?" "Yes, Washi, we're listening." "Is the kid in there already?" said another voice on the communicator, and it was the voice of another man. "Washi. Yeah, it's time for us to start phase 2 and get the kid out of here." "Understood. Rebecca and Sean will take you both as soon as they arrive with their van." "Washi. You already know what to do. Send them here as soon as I get Izuku Midoriya out of his cell. Tell the other assassins to start phase 2. It was the only thing he said before he turned off the communicator, and looked at one of the cells, and that cell was precisely Stain, the hero killer, and he was looking at the said name with the name of Washi with a look seriously, and the same was doing the same thing before walking again. As for Stain, he remained seated on the floor as he looked at something he had done on the wall with his fingernails. What he did looked like it was shaped like an eagle's skull only done underneath, and what he did was shaped like a symbol. And speaking of eagle, that same eagle that we saw earlier was outside while flying above Tartarus, as we see some guards, who were on the prison walls, get knocked out by some men and women who were wearing hoods that hid their eyes but not the rest of their face. And they were all looking right at the place where Izuku was trapped. Our opening starts by showing a man stepping out of the shadows while carrying a sword in his right hand, while in his left hand he could see his hidden blade exposed. The man was very serious and cold as he walked forward, and even though he was hooded, you could see his face, and he had a face almost similar to Izuku Midoriya's, only that wasn't him. This man has no freckles, his hair is black, he has a bit of a beard on his face, and his attire was far from modern. The man kept walking until many leaves from a tree fell around him, and when one of those leaves passed in front of him, the man disappeared, and we could see the young Izuku Midoriya in the uniform of his old school, Aldera, and he had a smile on his face. Until another sheet passed in front of him, and we see that Izuku was in his O uniform, and again, he had a smile on his face as he walked ahead. Soon after, the sheet passed again in front of Izuku, and we could see him in his hero attire, and he had a determined smile on his face. More and more, he was smiling and looking happy as he walked forward. But, just as another leaf passed in front of him, we see Izuku once more, only he was wearing a different outfit. He was wearing a black coat with a hood, while two blades were hidden in the boy's two arms. But the most interesting detail, Izuku is no longer smiling as he walks. He now looked serious, determined, but very sad. As the current Izuku continued walking, he saw silhouettes of the former Izuku smiling past him, which not only made him stop walking, but also made Izuku look back. And in doing so, we could see through this Izuku's eyes that he was indecisive and sad. He continues to remember the good times he joined UA, met his friends and his lover. But now, everything had changed and he was missing it. But he kept walking, and in front of him he saw other people with clothes almost identical to him, as they were all standing in front of a building. And upon seeing that place, Izuku became serious and put the hood on his head, thus covering his identity. And in doing so Izuku looks straight at the screen with a calm, expressionless gaze, which is for you readers, and the screen goes dark. Class 1A. Once Izuku was taken away, many of the 1A students didn't open their mouths to say anything. Most were saddened by the situation, especially some top students. Toru. I still can't believe what just happened, she said crestfallen. Kaminari. I never thought Midoriya would be a traitor. Shoto. And he's not. Everyone turned around and saw that Shoto was serious, even though he was like that. Mineta. What the hell, Todoroki? Why not? You saw the recording too, didn't you? Mineta asked as he got out of his chair. Shoto. Obviously, but I still don't believe Midoriya is a traitor, he said with his arms crossed. Bakugo. Oh yeah, and why, half and half? He asked annoyed. Shoto. We're talking about Midoriya. After all he's done this year, I highly doubt that someone like him has betrayed us. Ojiro. Look, I also want to believe that Midoriya is still a nice guy, but we saw the recording, and it was obvious that it was Midoriya. Momo. I know what we saw, but don't you think that's weird? The city's screens were hacked, and out of nowhere, someone shows a video of Midoriya delivering information to one of the League of Villains. Nothing. Where did he get those recordings? And why hack the screens? She asked with her hand on her chin, thoughtful. Bakugo. And does it matter now? Regardless of who recorded this, it showed us that Deku betrayed us and that he's a shitty villain. We almost died several times and the main responsible for that was that bastard, he said while banging on the table angrily. He was pissed at the thought that Izuku was primarily responsible for everything that happened this year. Tenya. Besides, Midoriya has already turned himself in and we can't do anything but get on with our lives, he said crestfallen and upset. A part of him didn't want to believe what he saw, but another part believed that Izuku didn't seem to be who he is. Kirishima. Are you kidding, guys? Are you really going to believe that Midoriya, precisely him, would do this to us? He asked as he got up. Kyoka. As much as I don't know Midoriya that well, I have my doubts if he was in fact a traitor, she said as she wrapped her finger around her jacks. Just today, when he was saying that he wasn't the traitor, I could kind of feel that he was telling the truth. His heart was beating too fast, as if he was terrified and desperate. Mineta. Desperate that we found out the truth about him, huh? Yuga. Honestly, everyone turned to Aoyama, and for the first time he was serious. Too. I doubt he's a traitor, he said in a serious and crestfallen way, which surprised most of his colleagues. Tsuyu. I doubt it too. Hiro. In USJ, when I was about to be killed by that villain with multiple hands, Midoriya attacked him hard and would almost die because of it, she said remembering as she stood up. If he is indeed a villain and a traitor, why would he do something like that? You were there too, Mineta. You also saw what Midoriya did to save us, she said with a serious look at Mineta, who was silent. Shoto. Besides, there was also the sports festival. Midoriya knew about my weakness, but still, he said while looking at his left hand. He lost the fight precisely to save me from myself. If he is indeed a traitor and villain, why would he hurt himself like that? By the way, Iida. Iida looked at Todoroki and saw that the bicolored boy gave him a serious look that showed the boy was disappointed. Shoto. Did you forget what happened in Hosu? If Midoriya hadn't shown up, do you think you'd be alive to tell the tale? Iida didn't say anything, he just kept his head down as he clenched his fists. Annoyed with himself, not only for having remembered that event but also for forgetting that Izuku and Shoto had risked themselves precisely to help him and the hero native. Shoji. If you want to know my opinion, I also doubt that Midoriya is a traitor. You should have seen what he did at the camp. He was not only injured but he was also willing to help us, especially you, Bakugo. When he said that, Bakugo remained seated while sulking and annoyed, but even so, he didn't disagree. Tokiyami. At the camp he also helped me in Dark Shadow, even though he knew he could get hurt more or even die, he said with his arms crossed while keeping his eyes closed. I'm grateful for what he did. Toru. I don't know about you guys, but I was sad when I saw that recording in Midoriya's face when we were accusing him and when he was taken away, she said in a sad tone, which was almost rare to see coming from her. Mina. Yeah, I felt that way too. I haven't seen him angry when he looks at us at any time, she said while standing next to Toru, who was sitting on her seat. Honestly, I don't know who to believe. Midoriya is a nerdy and cute guy in my opinion, and it's almost unbelievable that he would do something like that. Sato. I don't know if I believe Midoriya or the recording. But there's a part of me that's saying something is wrong and it's bothering me. Ochako. Not to mention what he did for me. Everyone looked at the door of the room and saw that Ochako was at the door, but Aizawa was not there with her. Ochako was looking serious but sad. Ochako. Izuku sacrificed his arm in the entrance exam to save me. If it wasn't for me, maybe he would have died. And all that time we've spent together, I've seen what kind of person he is, she said as she walked into the room. He's someone hopeful, dreamy, determined and someone with a good heart, and all this precisely to want to become a hero. If everything we saw on that recording is true, then why would he do it all this time? Quote, Bakugo. Maybe to trick us and not suspect him. Ochako. And where's the logic of breaking your arms and almost dying several times just to pretend he's someone he's not? He also did a lot of things for you because he sees you as a friend, and you reciprocate like that. Quote, Bakugo. I didn't ask him to see me like that, and I didn't ask that damn Deku to do all that, he said irritated while looking at Ochako, who remained serious. Ochako. Exactly, you didn't ask and he did it anyway. Do you think anyone besides him would do something like that for you? Her words made him stay silent. Momo. And let's take a moment to think, she said as she stood up. If it was any of us on that recording, including me, wouldn't you say the same thing Midoriya said today? Wouldn't you do the same thing to me? No one dared to answer. Everyone remained serious as they began to think more calmly. Kyoka. But the question that doesn't want to be silent is, if that's not Midoriya, then who was it? She asked the question that most were asking right now. Tenya. Do you think Midoriya will be okay? He asked, crestfallen and upset for not having done anything to help Izuku. Ochako. I don't know, especially since he's being taken to Tartarus, she said while sending a disappointed and upset look at Iida, but hearing what she. Tartarus. Everyone screamed in shock. Suyu. But why take him to Tartarus? She asked worriedly. Shota. On account of his alleged crime. The students turned around and saw that Aizawa had just arrived. Because of what happened this year and because they think he is responsible, many considered him someone dangerous. That's why they took him there. Aizawa stood on the podium in front of the students and said. Shota. We're working so that we can find a way to prove Midoriya's innocence. All Might knows someone who can help and he's going to meet that person who can help. Until then, let's hope your colleague be alright. As Aizawa spoke, we see that Toshinori got out of his truck and arrived at a house. When walking to the door, he saw that it was unlocked, which surprised Toshinori. Toshinori. Tsukauchi, it's me, Toshinori. Are you there? Listen, I need your help, he said as he entered the house, but as he did so, Toshinori's eyes widened when he saw that inside the place was a mess, but what worried ex-hero number 1 was that there was a little blood on the floor, but no body. Toshinori. Tsukauchi, he shouted worried and desperate while looking at another part of the house. Tartarus. Back at the prison in Tartarus, it's been an hour since Izuku entered that cell. The boy had his head down, thinking about everything that happened today. Who set Izuku up? What's happening? What is he going to do? How could his mother be reacting to this? Insert soundtrack. You're not alone, Jed Kurzel. Before he could think of anything else, suddenly an alarm goes off as the alarm lights flash red as the boy's cell door unlocks itself. Izuku didn't understand anything as he got up from the bed, but he assumed this would be some kind of invasion or maybe a fight. Until someone opened the cell door, and it was the same guard as before, only with a different outfit. He was wearing some kind of hooded cloak. Izuku. What are you doing here? What's going on? He asked as the man took the anti-power bracelets from Izuku's arms. Washi. It's our chance to get you out of here. Come, he said as he walked down the hall. Izuku left the cell reluctantly confused, but decided to follow the strangely dressed man as he grabbed a communicator. Washi. This is Washi. I already took Midoriya out of the cell, and I'm taking him out. All right, Washi. Now get out quickly before more reinforcements arrive along with Abstergo, said the voice coming out of the communicator. Izuku. Wait a minute, what's going on? Where are you taking me? He asked as he followed the man. Washi. We know what's going on, Izuku Midoriya. We know you're innocent, and we know who did it and why. They kept running until halfway through they found some guards fighting some criminals who were released from their cells. Izuku. Shall we help them? He asked as Washi stopped the boy from doing anything by putting his arm in front of him. Washi. Stay right there, young man. Until 3 of these criminals went for Washi and Izuku, but Washi dodged a punch from one of them and killed him by inserting a blade that was hidden under his arm into the criminal's neck, killing him afterwards. Another criminal tried to hit Washi, but he bent down, attacked his left leg with his hidden blades, and then killed him by inserting one of the blades into his chest. The other criminal kept attacking Izuku, who kept dodging due to the training he received, and retaliating by punching him twice in the ribs and punching him in the side of the face, causing the criminal to spit blood. Until Izuku made a push on the wall and punched the man hard in the face, which fell to the ground. As Izuku stood in position while waiting for the criminal to get up, he got up angrily and was going to fight Izuku again, but Washi killed him by inserting the blade through his lung, causing him to agonize before dying. Izuku. Why you killed him? Izuku was horrified as he saw the bodies, which didn't affect the killer at all. Washi. Let's go, he said while looking ahead. Izuku. You killed them all. Washi. They've done worse than that. They're far from innocent. Now come and let's go, he said while showing and waiting for Izuku. Even horrified and disgusted by that scene, Izuku decided to follow him. He didn't know if he trusted the said man named Washi, but he decided not to take another risk and didn't want to stay in that place. Even more so when Washi said that he knows of his innocence. As soon as they started walking, they stopped when they saw a big, muscular criminal who didn't have a nice-looking face. He was smirking as he looked at Izuku, who was worried about the way the man looked at him, but before any of them did anything, especially the Washi who was showing his blades, someone climbs on top of the big guy and shoves a face behind his skull, causing him to scream in pain just before he falls. When he fell to the ground, the person responsible got on top of the big guy and stabbed him several times in the chest, killing him right away. The person responsible for this took himself with the knife still in his hand and revealed to be Izuku. Stain. Izuku thought, worried to see the hero killer in front of them. Stain, who was taking a deep breath, looked at the two of them with a serious and cold look and said, Stain. Hi, Kiyomaru. Washi. You're still terrible, Akaguro. Izuku was shocked and surprised to see that they seemed to know each other. But before he could question, Stain. Behind you, watch out, he shouted as he passed by the two and killed another criminal who would attack Izuku and Washi from the rear. But to the unhappiness of the three more men appeared to die, and Washi and Stain killed him. Stain caught the arm of one of them with his own arm, broke it and stabbed the criminal in the chest until he fell dead to the ground. The other criminal tried to attack Stain, but he dodged and tripped the man, who fell to the ground, but before he could get up, Stain jumped over him and stabbed him in the chest, thus killing him. Washi, who dodged one of the criminal's attacks, inserted the blade of his left arm into the criminal's throat, causing him to spit blood, and then used the blade of his right arm to stab the prisoner in the chest and belly a little, before taking a knee and falling dead to the ground. As for Izuku, he was startled and horrified by what he was seeing. The way the two of them killed seemed like it was the most common thing they do, and they looked like they were trained for it. Stain appeared more brutal while Washi appeared to be more controlled as he killed. The two men looked at each other with serious looks and looked at Izuku, who shuddered at their gaze. Until behind them appeared other guards who were running towards them, and upon seeing this, Stain said, Stain. I'll deal with them. Go and get the boy out of here, he said as he walked towards the guards. Washi. Don't kill them, got it? As he said this, Stain dropped the bloody knife he had, dropping it to the ground and ran towards the guards using only his fists to counter. Washi. Come on, we're wasting time here, he said while dragging Izuku to the exit. The more and more they walked, the more they saw the two of them fighting the criminals that were on the loose. Some guards had an advantage because the prisoners wore bracelets that nullified quirks, but there were some criminals who managed to get over it, but then died when shot by guns. And the more and more they walked, Izuku became more scared, confused and lost. His day already started out weird, but now, it got weirder. He was scared because of the bodies and blood that they saw on the way, he was confused because of the guard who was taking him out of there, and lost because, feeling like this. By the way, at the entrance of the prison, which is also the exit, the two realized that chaos was happening there too. With gunfire, explosions and screaming going on outside the building. Izuku. Wait, are you going to explain what's going on? He asked, worried and almost as if demanding answers. Washi. Yes, but not now, he said as he took something from his pocket. Izuku. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Izuku was interrupted when the man put a cloth bag on the boy's head, who got scared. Washi. Relax and be quiet, Midoriya. I'll get that bag off your head as soon as we get in the van, he said while pushing Izuku and using the boy as if he were his hostage. With that cloth bag over his head, Izuku couldn't see anything and was lost as he listened to everything that was happening outside. The only thing he could do was walk while he imagined what was happening outside. Until he heard the sound of a vehicle pulling up in front of him just before he heard the sound of the door opening and heard someone else's voice. Insert soundtrack. First regression, Jed Kurzel. Quick, get in here and let's go, said a woman who appears to be 36 years old. Upon hearing her order, Izuku was placed inside the vehicle while Washi got inside as well. And when they saw that they got inside the vehicle, the van driver, who appears to be about 40 years old and wore glasses, accelerated the vehicle to the tip so they could leave the place. Izuku took the cloth bag off his head and saw where it was as it got further and further. Izuku. Whoa, what's going on and who are you guys? Rebecca. Oh, hi, young man. My name is Rebecca Crane, and the one driving this vehicle is Sean Hastings, she said while pointing to the driver who was accelerating the vehicle. Sean. Hello there, he said without taking his eyes off the road. Rebecca. And we are members of the Assassin Order and we have come to rescue you. Izuku. Wait a minute, what? What are you guys? Assassin Order. For obvious reasons, Izuku was surprised, confused and worried about the situation he was in. Until they heard gunshots behind the vehicle, which surprised Izuku, but not the two members of the Assassin Order. Washi. Sean, keep accelerating. Rebecca. Protect the boy. Washi opened the back doors of the van and saw that some cruisers were chasing them. His pursuers continued shooting, but missed them because Washi quickly closed the van's door, thus preventing everyone from being hit by the shots. And seeing that they stopped shooting, possibly to reload, Washi opened the door and with his hidden blade, he managed to make a shot that hit one of the car's tires, which went out of control and hit the other vehicle, causing it to crash and fall. In floor. Abstergo building. Grand Master, the assassins have arrived and are taking the boy, said a voice of a man who was on the communicator of the chief of Abstergo. Grand Master. Then kill them and bring the boy here, he said irritated while looking at the window. Back to Izuku. As they continued to be pursued, Washi blasting their pursuers with the shots coming from his blade. Izuku became more and more fearful for his life as he tried to breathe and exhale calmly, which Rebecca also noticed. Rebecca. Hey, boy. Easy there, you'll be fine, I promise that. She stopped talking when everyone felt that something hit the van right next to them. Sean. What the heck was that? Sean saw who was doing this, and it was one of those vehicles that were following them. And seeing what that other vehicle was trying to do, Sean took a pistol that was with him, and fired towards the other vehicle as he continued driving. Sean. Hey, you motherfucker. This van is mine, he screamed as he continued shooting, until he shot the vehicle's tire and caused him to lose control and fall off the bridge. Before Sean could celebrate, he looked ahead and saw that they were getting closer to the city, but he could see that there were two more vehicles coming in front of him. Sean. Hey Washi. Washi, who got rid of one of his pursuers by shooting the driver of the vehicle, looked where Sean was looking and knew who they were. Sean. There are Templars in front of us. What do we do? He said while he didn't stop accelerating. Washi. Kana, are you in position? He asked into his ear communicator. In a building near those vehicles was a woman who had a rifle literally sticking out of her elbow. Kana is a tall woman with a curvy body. She has long dark blue hair with numerous pink streaks scattered around it, which is usually tied in a ponytail with 2 strands of shoulder-length hair left to frame her face. Her eyes are purple with a mauve tinge framed by dark blue angled brows. Kana. I'm watching and I have them in my sights, she said while looking at the 2 Abstergo vehicles with her rifle. Washi. Shoot them. Upon hearing the order, Kana shot the driver of one of the vehicles in the head, causing the vehicle to overturn on the ground, and the other, Kana shot at a location that had fuel in the vehicle, and when firing and hitting the shot, the other vehicle exploded. And upon getting rid of them, Sean's vehicle passed them as they continued to flee. Washi. Good job and thank you, Lady Nagant. Washi's voice came from Kana's communicator, who is known to you as Lady Nagant. Kana. Was the second phase of the plan successful? She asked as she stood up. Washi. Yes, we rescued the boy. I'll tell the Grand Master everything. Meet us at our hideout, quickly. Kana. Understood. I'm on my way. It was the only thing she said before looking at those wrecked vehicles before jumping into one of the buildings with parkour moves as she put a hood on her head as she ran. Inside the vehicle, Izuku looked at Rebecca, who noticed the greenish look, and asked. Izuku. Can you explain to me what's going on and what you want with me? He asked seriously. Abstergo building. At the top of the well-known Abstergo building, more precisely, in that room where the Grand Master Templar was, He was looking at the news on the big screen in his room, where the news was commenting on the attack on Tartarus, and this made the man very serious and angry. Grandmaster, I remember I was very clear with what I said. I said, bring the boy over here and kill the assassins. He said it with a very serious tone and with a contained anger inside him. He was saying that to the communicator in his ear, and he knew the person on the other end of the line was listening. Quote. Grandmaster, it was a simple task. Bring the boy here, and kill the damn assassins. How did you let that happen? You had a fucking job. And you couldn't even fucking do it. We didn't know the assassins would be able to get in. Grandmaster. Oh, didn't you know? We're talking about our enemies of several centuries and decades. Did you really think the assassins wouldn't do anything? He asked, slightly irritated, barely able to contain his anger and frustration. Sorry, Grandmaster. Grandmaster. I bet you don't want to see my face right now. Do something. Look for Izuku Midoriya, and bring him here, dead or alive, if need be, and it better not be the other option. Understood, Grandmaster. It was the only thing the person said before hanging up. As for the said Grandmaster, he took his cell phone, dialed a number just before calling someone. And while waiting for the person to answer, yes, Grandmaster. Have you seen the news? Overhaul. Overhaul. Yeah, I know. The assassins are more dangerous, even for prison in Tartarus. Did you just call me for that? Grandmaster. No, I just want to know how the goods are doing, he asked as he looked out the window at the city. Back to Izuku. 30 minutes passed when Izuku managed to escape from prison on account of the assassins, and also because of them the boy was also saved from his pursuers. And at this point, we can see that Sean parked the van in a spot after a big door closed just as the vehicle entered the place, and when that happened, Rebecca opened the back door of the van and said, Rebecca. We're here. You drove well, Sean, she said while Sean and Izuku, even reluctantly, got out of the vehicle. Sean. Are you serious that you doubted my ability as a getaway pilot? He asked in a mocking tone, but even asking that, he knew what the answer would be. Rebecca. Do I really need to answer? Let's go inside, he said as he took the hood off his head to reveal his short brown hair. Izuku. Wait there. Everyone turned to Izuku, and saw that he was serious and suspicious. You still owe me an explanation. What's going on? What do you want from me? Sean. Look, I know it's going to be hard for you to trust us, but we want to help you, if you help us too. Izuku. What, Rebecca? What my idiot boyfriend means is, we'll explain everything to you and even help you, but first you'll have to come with us and trust us, she said while standing in front of Izuku. Izuku. Even though he didn't say anything, Izuku still remained suspicious and they all noticed it. Also, we got you out of Tartarus. Sean. Forcibly. As he said that, Washi and Rebecca looked at him. Fake cough, but still, we got you out of there. Washi. Do you have a better choice than to come with us and trust us, Midoriya? Izuku saw that he was right. Like it or not, they took Izuku out of Tartarus, one of the worst prisons in the world, and they still know the boy is innocent. Izuku saw no option but to accept. Entering deeper into the place, they saw an elevator, and as they entered it, all were taken upstairs. When the door opened, Izuku saw what appeared to be a hideout, with many men and women fiddling with computers, weapons, devices, or even eagles that appeared to be trained. Rebecca. Welcome to our hideout. Izuku. Listen, what place is this exactly? Sean. She just mentioned that our hideout. Izuku. And no, what I mean is, where are you guys hiding exactly? He asked as he stopped walking. Right below my workplace. Hearing that voice, Izuku was wide-eyed as he recognized him. Turning around, Izuku saw. Izuku. Principal Nezu. Nezu. Hello, young Midoriya. I'm glad you're okay, he said with his characteristic humor while next to him was that same 50-year-old man who spoke to Nezu hours ago. Washi. Greetings Mr. Nezu and Mr. William, he said while bowing a little to the two. William. You already know you don't need that, Washi. He said that with a smile a little before looking at Izuku. Nice to meet you, Izuku Midoriya. My name is William Miles. Nezu already commented on you. Izuku. What? No, wait a minute, he said while keeping his hands on his head. There's so much going on in one day that I think I'm going to start having a headache. Can someone please explain to me what's going on? William. First, of course, we'll explain everything to you. And second, take it easy, young man. I know it's crazy but... Izuku. No. This is more than crazy for me, this is very serious crazy thing. First I'm framed, then I'm rescued in an escape in Tartarus, I almost got killed, I'm in a place I didn't even know existed and now I find out that my headmaster is part of this assassin's order. He said everything in disbelief and almost in disbelief. Nezu. I know it's unbelievable to believe, but everything has an explanation. He said as he and William showed a way to Izuku, who followed them along with Rebecca, Sean and Washi. We are more than an order, we are a brotherhood. Izuku. Brotherhood, is it like a family or something? He asked confused. Sean. Yeah, I almost thought the same thing when I first walked in, but it's more than that. Here's our creed. We take an oath to be part of this order that tries to fight for freedom and peace against our enemies, the Templars. Izuku. And you guys do that by killing people? He asked as everyone entered a room, which had computers, monitors and some kind of comfort chair in the middle of the room. Rebecca. We do kill people, but we don't kill innocent people. That's part of the dogma of our creed, which is, to take our blade away from the flesh of the innocents. She said a little before sitting in a chair while Sean sat in another chair while Washi was just watching nearby. Izuku. But what about Stain the hero killer? In the prison, I saw that you and he seemed to know each other, and as far as I know, Stain killed a lot of heroes, he said while looking at Washi. William. Stain was part of our creed, and he contributed what he could, but then he started to go off the rails, he said seriously while Rebecca and Sean fiddled with the computers. Izuku. What do you mean? Nezu. Understand one thing, young Midoriya. As much as most of the heroes that Stain killed are not innocent, and have some connection with the Templars, he started to have a new belief in his head. Using his abilities and as our order taught them, Stain began to kill any hero he thought were fake, and because of that, Stain wasn't following our orders and doing everything according to what he believed in. He almost compromised the order of assassins for that. He said while remembering how Stain acted before and after he entered the assassin order just before remembering the news that where Stain killed his victims according to his belief. Washi. That's until you show up, Midoriya. His comment made Izuku look at the man. After you defeated Stain and when he was taken to Tartarus, I and some assassins infiltrated there precisely because of him initially. Izuku. To rescue him. William. No, to ensure he never runs away again or commits no more murders using our abilities. Washi. I could even kill him if they gave me the order. But all our plans changed as soon as you were sent to Tartarus. His words made Izuku curious. Nezu. We've had our eyes on you for a long time, young Midoriya, including the Templars. Izuku. Watching me, but why, Sean? In short, young man, we all want to see your past. More precisely, your ancestor. Izuku. Seeing my ancestor. Wait a minute, what's this talk about seeing my ancestor? I'm sorry to disappoint you but I don't have a quirk that allows you to see my past or ancestor, as you're saying. Rebecca. We don't need it, we have that. She said as she pointed to that chair in the middle of the room, which had a machine shape, and that was not at all common. Rebecca. This is the Animus. My Animus. A 3.0 version that I created myself. Izuku. What is this? Animus. He said while looking at that chair while analyzing. Sean. In short, this is a virtual reality machine that allows you to see your ancestors' memories, but for that to work, the Animus needs your DNA. He said while looking briefly at Izuku a little before going back to messing with what he was messing with on the computer. Izuku. My DNA. You mean this here will take my blood? He asked taking a step back while pointing to the Animus. Rebecca. Relax, this is safe. Of course, there are the issues of the bleeding effect that only happens from being in the Animus for a long time, but you'll be fine. A friend of ours has already used this to prove it's safe. By mentioning this friend, we can see that William's look showed sadness. Izuku. But even so, how exactly does that work? Better yet, What do you want with my ancestor? Who are these Templars and who exactly are the assassins? Hearing that question, Rebecca and Sean looked at each other as they stopped fiddling with the monitor for a while. Sean. Do we show him? Rebecca. Well, William. Show to him. When they heard that, everyone looked at William. The boy deserves to see and know how it works. You can show him. Upon hearing William's orders, the couple looked at each other and nodded as Sean played some sort of recording on the large monitor in front of everyone present in the room, and the large screen began showing a city of Jerusalem in 1191. Izuku. Is this a movie? Rebecca. No. This is a demonstration of what the Animus showed us. What you're seeing, Midoriya, is something real that happened many years ago. His words left Izuku shocked, surprised and intrigued, and of course, he wasted no time and continued watching. The recording continued showing the city, and in the middle of it, Izuku saw a square where many people were seeing a hanging, where the sentenced people were already dead. And before Izuku was shocked or commented anything, on top of a church with a bell, an eagle flew by and in it appeared a man with a white cloak and a hood on his head, and he was watching the one on top of that church. More precisely, he was looking at the Templar guard who was standing in the middle of the stage where this execution was taking place. Rebecca. This was Altair ibn Lahad, an assassin who lived through the Crusades and one of our friend's ancestors who used the Animus, she said in a serious tone while the screen showed the said Altair disappearing from the top of the church to then show him in the midst of people who watched the hanging. Izuku. The time of the Crusades was in the 12th century, wasn't it? So, what we're seeing now is, he said almost in disbelief. Sean. It's a little thing that Altair saw in the year 1191. As they talked, Izuku saw Altair pass by all those people as he got closer to the three guards that were causing that force. Altair killed a guard by shooting him with a crossbow that was on Altair's back, knocked a guard to the ground who tried to attack the assassin, and then used his body to make a great leap towards the Templar guard, who tried to take his hand. Sword to defend himself, but it was too late. Altair, who had a hidden blade in his left arm, killed the guard by slamming the blade into his neck as the assassin fell off the man, who died instantly. Izuku upon seeing this was shocked as Altair looked back just before running away from a guard who tried to attack him but failed to hit the assassin, who managed to flee. Izuku. This man Altair, was he the only ancestor of your friend that you saw through the Animus? William. No, he's got a lot more than you think. Nezu. Rebecca. Sean. Could you show young Midoriya more? Sean. No problem. They said as we see Altair jump and climb the roofs of the houses and buildings that existed at the time as the guards tried to chase the assassin, who jumped off one of the guards, but did not kill him. It looked like Altair was surrounded by him standing in front of a church door while 4 guards stood there looking at the assassin, who showed no fear or concern. And when the church bell rang and many hooded people came out of the church that Altair was in front of, the assassin used that opportunity to disappear, which not only left the guards confused but Izuku as well. A next recording showed an elderly man who appeared to be 50 years old, wearing a grayish-black robe, and the recording showed him lying on the ground just before 2 guards appeared and dragged him somewhere, and this elderly man did not want to attack or fight back. Rebecca. This was Ezio Auditore da Firenze, the assassin who contributed most to the assassin order. Sean. In addition to being one of the most respected, it's no wonder he became a mentor. Izuku. From the name I assume he was Italian. He said while watching Ezio being dragged through some kind of fortress with many guards looking at Ezio and ensuring he doesn't run away or think about running away. When is this happening? Nezu. 1511, a time when there was a dispute between the Ottomans and the Byzantines, and mentor Ezio Auditore found himself in the middle of this dispute as he searched for answers. As they talked, Izuku saw Ezio at the top of the tower, with several guards around him armed with glaives and swords that were pointed at Ezio, who was walking with bound hands towards a wooden plank as he was pushed by a Templar guard, who was holding a rope. Izuku. Wait a minute, are we seeing the moment he's going to die? Rebecca. We thought the same thing at first, but it doesn't matter what situation Ezio found himself in, she said as the recording showed the guard taking the hood off Ezio's head, who was very calm even with a rope being placed on his neck. He always found a way to escape. As she said that, Izuku saw Ezio elbow the man in the head, who was stunned as Ezio took this opportunity and grabbed the rest of the rope he was going to be struggling with. Before that man or the guards could even do anything, Ezio threw that rope around the man's back neck and threw himself onto the plank, causing the man to lie flat on his stomach on that wooden plank. The guards tried to do something, but Ezio, who was holding on to the rope so he wouldn't hang himself or break his neck, managed to free himself from the knot that was around his neck, fell further down but, unbelievably, Ezio landed in a spot not so low of the tower, thus surviving. Seeing that he had managed to get away, Ezio stood up, put his hood back over his head, and walked somewhere. And that little demonstration about Ezio Auditore left Izuku open-mouthed. Izuku was impressed that that 50-year-old man managed to escape from a gallows, risking himself but still fighting and surviving, all without using a power. Then the couple showed another recorded memory, and this time, Izuku saw a field where a war was going on, with many soldiers, guns and cannons fired, and many men wounded or killed. But before Izuku could ask anything, an eagle that was watching that war flew between the trees, and in the middle of them, a man jumped from there to fall among the men who were losing the battle. William. That was the last one we saw with Desmond's DNA. His name was Radananake Tun, but he was better known as Connor Kenway, the master assassin of the Colonial Brotherhood. Izuku. From the name, I believe he came from an Indian tribe if I'm not wrong, he said while continuing to look at that recording. Does this take place in the American Revolutionary War? Izuku asked this because of the flags, clothes and weapons that recording showed, not to mention that Izuku has already studied the subject. Nezu. Yes, but Master Connor only wanted one thing, save his people. Izuku. And he made it? Izuku asked curiously. Rebecca. In a way yes, but the journey to that was high. As they talked, Izuku saw Connor grab a horse and run towards the enemies, who saw the assassin advance towards him and shot him, but Connor was not hit, but the horse was. Continuing on foot, Connor ran towards them, but first he took cover from the shots through a large boulder that was on that battlefield. Seeing that Connor was still fearlessly heading towards the redcoats, they tried to reload their weapons to shoot Connor, but it was too late. Connor had already arrived towards them. A redcoat tried to shoot the assassin, but he caused the gun butt to hit the guard's chin through the shot, but Connor didn't stop there. He took that weapon and hit the face of another enemy that was going to attack him just before Connor advanced further in, as the men Connor was helping watched everything from a distance and would use this opportunity to attack. As for Connor, who killed a guard using his own gun with one shot, grabbed the other guard and used him as a human shield to protect himself from the shots being aimed at the assassin, who managed to protect himself using his enemy body. Izuku. He looks like a fighting machine, he thought with his mouth open. Still advancing, Connor picked up a tomahawk that had a shape of the assassin's symbol on the tip of the hatchet in one hand, while in the other hand he carried a knife in the other, and using these two weapons, Connor counterattacked and killed whoever attacked him in his path, like now where Izuku saw the Indian assassin slash a man's throat with the knife, take a man down with the tomahawk, and cut the leg of another redcoat that tried to attack Connor. As for, let's say, Connor's allies, they fire cannons while other men advance towards the enemies, not only to help Connor but also to finish off the redcoats, who were slowly dying, not only from Connor but from the cannon fire. As for the assassin, he saw a man on horseback in the midst of the redcoats. He stared at him just before Connor advanced towards the man, who tried to order his men to go towards the assassin, but to no avail. Connor took a bow and arrow and shot the man in the shoulder, knocking him off his horse. William. Master Connor could even be considered impulsive or even naive, but one thing we can't deny. William's words made Izuku look at him. He raised the assassins in the darkest time they ever lived, and we are very grateful to him. As he spoke, Connor had reached his target, which was a Templar that he fired that arrow, and killed him by hitting his tomahawk in his chest. Izuku. Were these three men the only major contributors to your order? Sean. No, there's a lot more, he said while showing several memories at the same time with several different assassins, not only in terms of identity but time as well. I managed to hack the Abstergo system along with other assassins, and we managed to recover several memories of several assassins in our order. Rebecca. Like that guy, for example, that one over there is Edward Kenway, she said while pointing to a memory where we see the man known as Edward, who wore a hooded and leather pirate outfit, participating in a tavern brawl while killing a man in Spanish dress just before taking a bag of money that was with him. Izuku. Kenway. Was he related to Connor? Nezu. You're paying attention, that's great. He was Master Connor's grandfather. Before he was just a pirate who wanted his fortune, but then he joined the order and became a respectable assassin. Nezu was happy with Izuku's question, which proves that the boy is interested in knowing more. As they talked, Izuku saw Edward and his tribulation break into an English ship, with Edward killing several men without much difficulty, killing them with shots, with the hidden blades or even with one of his two swords that were on Edward's waist, who was fighting an English captain, and it looked like the pirate was at a disadvantage, but when the English advanced towards Kenway, he dodged and caused the captain to fall and get his head stuck in the ship's helm. But before he could try to flee, Edward swung the ship's wheel and killed the English captain mercilessly in the process, and that shocked Izuku as he took small steps back. But it didn't stop there. The screen also showed other assassins who lived in different historical times, such as the French Revolution, where the assassin Arnaud Dorian, who sought revenge for the death of his adoptive father. Assassin who was killing several guards inside a fortress in Paris in 1789 along with an angry population, and some of the assassin Brotherhood helping him in the middle against soldiers on the ground or at the windows of the fortress. Izuku. You mean that all this time, all these years, he said, shocked as he saw all those memories, including the time of the Industrial Revolution in London, where the assassins Jacob and Evie Fry fought against the local government, bringing gangs together and freeing London from the inequality that existed at the time. Izuku. That order existed among us? He asked, shocked, as the screen also showed the main creators of the Assassin Order, the time of Egypt, where Bayek along with his wife Aya worked together to protect the people of the Ptolemaic kingdom. Author. By far this is my favorite protagonist of the entire Assassin's Creed saga, Bayek of Siwa. Nezu. It existed even before Christ. Many don't know about the Assassins and Templars, and they don't know about the war we've been fighting all this time in secret. Izuku. I don't understand. His comment made everyone look at Izuku, who seemed to be in disbelief. I don't understand. What do I have to do with this? Why am I suddenly in the middle of all this? Because your ancestor has the answer the Templars want. Izuku, upon hearing that voice, was left with wide eyes as he felt himself freeze to know who said that. But to be sure, Izuku slowly turned around to look at the person who spoke, and to his surprise, the person he thought wasn't there was right there. Izuku. Mom? He asked with wide eyes. Inko, who entered the room along with Kana, who accompanied Izuku's mother along with the eagle that was on Lady Nagant's arm, looked at Izuku with a serious and sad look. Inko. I believe I owe you some explanation, my baby boy, she said just before that eagle let out its sound. Class 1A dorm. Due to what happened today, classes were cancelled for today, which could be a reason for students to relax, but that was not what they wanted, especially now with the new news that everyone was now seeing on the television in the room of the 1A dorm. And the news said, we recently received reports that the most dangerous prison in all of Japan, Tartarus, was attacked and invaded by unknown people. The police thought they were villains, but according to the recordings and the testimony of some guards, they are not sure who were exactly those people, said a presenter while in the background he showed some photos and recordings of Tartarus, where he could see various damages such as gunshots and explosions. According to the guards, the group that broke into the Tartarus prison did not kill the guards, but the same thing cannot be said for some criminals who were killed while trying to escape from the prison. But one thing that is intriguing is that in one of these recordings, we can see that Izuku Midoriya, known as the UA traitor, was taken away and taken hostage by this unknown group, who managed to escape with the prisoner, said a reporter while showing on the screen some images and videos where we see Izuku with that bag on his head just before being thrown into the van. As the report continued, the students who were watching it were speechless and even shocked to see it, while Ochako kept her hands over her mouth, fearing that something terrible had happened to Izuku. She just didn't cry because she was hoping that somehow the green-haired boy was okay. But what she wanted to know is, where is he? Not wanting to see that news anymore, the girl got up from the couch and decided to walk to her room. Suyu. Ochako. Tenya. Uraraka, where are you going? He said while trying to get closer to her, but... Ochako. I want to be alone, so don't follow me, all of you, she said in a serious tone before walking away from everyone, but without looking at Bakugo with a cold look, which the blonde also did. Momo. We better give her a break, she said worriedly. Zero. Who do you think these people are? Mineta. Maybe they're a new group of villains. Maybe they went to rescue Midoriya from Tartarus. Kaminari. Do you still think Midoriya is a traitor? Mineta. After this news, my suspicions that Midoriya is a traitor only increased. Kirishima. I don't know, guys. I'm sensing something is wrong. Kyoka. Do you think Midoriya is okay? Shoto. I just hope so. Mina. I hope the police and the heroes find them. Bakugo. As for Bakugo, he was sitting at the table but he could still hear very well what everyone is talking about. A part of him didn't care about Deku, but the other part of him was curious to know. Where did you go, you fucking nerd? He asked this in a whisper. As for Ochako, she had arrived in her room and as she closed the door, she leaned the wall against the door as she crawled to the floor as she clasped her hands, as if she was praying. Ochako. Please, be well, Izuku. Insert soundtrack. Assassin's Creed Origins main theme, Sarah Schachner. Back to Izuku. Back at the Assassin's hideout, we see that Izuku was sitting in that chair but without activating the animus while he was reasoning out everything Inko had just said to him. Izuku, who had his hands in a triangle shape close to his face, took a deep breath and said, Izuku, you mean that in all these years, you were part of this order? He asked without even looking at Inko. Inko. I stopped acting after I had you, and the Assassin Order understood my side. Izuku. But what about my father? He was also of the Assassin's Creed. Inko. No, but he knew I was part of that order and he accepted me anyway. Izuku. Why didn't you tell me anything? Why didn't you tell me anything about all this? The Creed, the Templars. He asked, pleading for answers while looking at Inko. He's not angry but he wants to know. Inko. I wanted to spare you from this world I lived in. I knew it would be hard, but I wanted to spare you something that has nothing to do with you, she said as she placed her hand on her son's cheek. You wanted to be a hero and I didn't want to ruin your dream. I thought that if I conquered your dream, maybe you would get rid of this fight between the assassins against the Templars. But I was wrong. She said that last part with a serious look. Izuku. Do they want to see my past? My ancestor? He asked with a serious look. William. Here in Japan there is one thing they want, and that thing can only be found through the memories of their ancestor, young Midoriya. Nezu. We kept an eye on you in order to protect you against the Templars, but we failed and now they know of your connection to this ancestor who hid a powerful artifact around here. Izuku was thoughtful, looked at the animus and asked, Izuku. If I enter here in this animus, can we have the answers? His question took everyone by surprise. Sean. Yes. Entering the animus will give you access to the memories of your ancestor, who knows where something the Templars want is, and only you will be able to access those memories, he informed while Izuku continued looking at the animus. Inko. Son, you're not thinking about. Izuku. 2 minutes. He said while looking at Rebecca and Sean. I'll let you access these memories for 2 minutes to see how it works and if it's safe. Rebecca. Okay, it's understandable. Rebecca and Sean understood Izuku's side. Sean. Your body, your rules, young man. Just sit there while we do the rest of the work. Hearing this, Izuku sat up and before he could get comfortable. Inko. Son, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Izuku. It's okay, Mom. I just want to see how it works. Besides, I also want to know more about myself and my past. He said that last part with a serious look. William. Kana, adjust the animus for Midoriya. Kana. Sure. Kana, also known as Lady Nagant, approached Izuku and attached the animus equipment to Izuku's right arm while she made the boy keep his head down so that his head was connected by several wires. Izuku. This won't hurt, right? Kana. I trust them, and if I were you, I would too, she said while holding Izuku's shoulder before moving away and staying by Inko's side, who was still worried. Rebecca. Are you ready, Midoriya? She asked if she turned the greenish one, who took a breath and asked. Izuku. Before I can know who I'm going to see. Nezu. Hiro Ishimaru, the assassin of the Assassin Order of Japan. Hearing that name, Izuku took a deep breath, and nodded, thus giving the go-ahead for Rebecca and Sean to turn on the animus, and so they did. And when they turned on the animus, Izuku had the pupils of his eyes dilated as he felt his consciousness being taken to another place. This was a sign that the animus was working. Izuku, who had his eyes closed, opened them and saw that he wasn't in the same place where he was before. The place he was standing in looked like a white room, that had nothing but him there. Izuku. And now what? As soon as he said that, everything started to change shape around Izuku, who stood still as he watched everything change. Just now he found himself in the middle of a battlefield in the middle of forests and mountains, with many corpses there. Corpses of men in feudal armor like samurai as he looked around with a look of shock, not only for the corpses but for their clothes and the place where he was, which seemed to be a mortal battle. Who are you? Izuku looked back and saw that whoever said that was a man in armor, and he wasn't talking to Izuku but to a boy who appears to be 6 years old. The boy was serious, dirty and showed no fear even with that man looking at him. Aren't you going to say anything, little man? Come on, tell me your name and what are you doing here? I have no name, and I am here to die, said the boy as he looked down as he got on his knees, expecting to be killed by the man in front of him, even more because he was carrying a sword, but... You didn't have a name, he said while kneeling in front of the 6-year-old boy, who looked at him. From now on, your name will be Hiro, he said as he placed his hand on the newly baptized shoulder. Hiro, who was surprised by what he heard. Hiro, what do you want? He asked curiously. Come on, let's get out of here, he said as he got up and walked among the corpses, while Izuku and Hiro, looking forward, saw a horse and what seemed to be the army of the man that was walking towards them. Rebecca. Sean, it's been 2 minutes. Sean. Okay, let's bring him back. Izuku heard Rebecca and Sean's voices, but before he could speak or question anything, Izuku felt his consciousness shift as everything around him crumbled away. And upon opening his eyes, Izuku found himself in the same room where Nezu, Inko, William and the assassins were while the green one sat while he didn't show any reaction. Nezu. Is he okay? Sean. I think so, we didn't do anything that we've never done before, he said as he and Rebecca approached Izuku. Inko. Son, are you okay? Izuku, who had his head down, slowly raised his head as he looked at them with a look that he was surprised. Izuku. What was that I just saw? The next day. Time. 8:10 a.m. A day has passed since the assassins took Izuku out of Tartarus. The police were left investigating and looking for any sign of Izuku and the assassins. But it was not just that. Recapping yesterday's events, a student known as Izuku Midoriya was declared a traitor to UA when a video that was broadcast on city screens showed the boy handing over important files to the villains. And so he was taken to Tartarus. From suddenly the prison was attacked by an unknown group, who not only took Midoriya hostage but also killed some of the inmates who were there. However, the guards remain alive, said a presenter on the city screen with some people watching and others still walking. And still talking about yesterday, the former #1 hero, All Might, alerted the police that Detective Tsukauchi Naomasa had his house invaded and his whereabouts are unknown. The unanswered question is, what is happening to Japan? The presenter asked, curious but worried. Focusing now elsewhere, we see that Izuku was standing with his eyes closed, but when he opened them, he saw that he was in a dark place, with someone in front of him. He was a man in somewhat feudal attire and with a hood over his head, which was lowered. Izuku. Hello. That man didn't say anything, he just revealed that his wrists had 2 hidden blades, which surprised Izuku. But what scared the boy was when the man started to take steps towards him with those blades showing. Izuku. Hey wait, what are you doing? He continued walking towards Izuku with hidden blades exposed. Izuku. What are you doing? Get away from me, he shouted as he tried to pull away, but his body wouldn't allow it. Question mark. This is your destiny, he said as he finally raised his head and looked at Izuku, but before the boy could see his face, the man quickly placed his hand on his face. Wake up. Suddenly, Izuku woke up and saw that he was lying on a couch in that same room where that animus was, but Rebecca and Sean weren't around. Nightmares. Hearing that voice, Izuku turned around and saw that the one there was the well-known Lady Nagant, with the real name of Kana. She was sitting on a chair while watching Izuku. Izuku. Something like that, and honestly, I was hoping that everything that happened yesterday was just a nightmare, and that in reality, everything was just like before. He said as he sat down. You were Lady Nagant, right? Kana. I was Lady Nagant, but now I'm someone else, or just Kana. Izuku. If I may ask, what are you doing here? Kana. I was told to keep an eye on you until you wake up. And since you woke up, I believe you must be hungry, she said as she got up from her chair. Izuku. Yeah, I believe so. Kana. Okay, but first wear these clothes as soon as you take a shower, she said while pointing to some folded clothes that were on the floor next to the sofa. And the bathroom is over there, so feel free to wash up and change your clothes. As she said that, the former heroine turned to leave, but... Izuku. Wait a minute. Can I ask you a few questions? Kana. I'm listening, she said as she turned around and looked at the greenish one. Izuku. Is my mother still here? Kana. No, she went out to get your other clothes since you already know, she said while pointing to the detainee outfit that Izuku was wearing. She suspects that you will have to stay here for a long time until your innocence is proven. Izuku. It was what I feared, he said while scratching his head. Kana. And what was the other question you have? Izuku. Why did you join this order of assassins? Kana. May I know the reason for this question? She asked, curious why he wanted to know that. Izuku. I'm just curious. Kana. Let's just say I discovered the truth, and thanks to the assassins, I was able to open my eyes and fight for a cause, she said with a serious look. Izuku. The truth. What you mean by that? Kana. The hard truths about so much of this world, maybe one day you'll find out, was the only thing she said as she turned around and left the room. I'll be waiting for you as soon as you finish. Once she left, Izuku looked at the other clothes as he picked them up in his hands. But before going to the place where he could wash and change clothes, Izuku stopped walking when he faced that animus he used the day before. Flashback. Going back to the day before. Right when Izuku left the animus, we see that Sean offered the boy a bottle of water, which he accepted. And after hydrating himself a little, Izuku looked at Rebecca and Sean and asked. Izuku. What was that? Rebecca. That was a little memory of your ancestor when he was a kid, hero. Izuku. And what I saw in this animus felt so. Sean. Real. That was real, in a way. Everything you saw in those 2 minutes was not just a simulation, but a simulation of a reality that happened many years ago and that only the animus can show, he said while pointing to the animus. Izuku. So that's why the Templars are after me. Do they want me to get the answers for them? William. They want you to relive Hero's memories, and by reliving those memories, they'll get more information until they get to what they want. Hearing that, Izuku looked at the screen and asked. Izuku. How did they find me? Nezu. I believe that, like us, they were also watching you, and I believe that they were waiting for the right moment to catch up with you. Izuku. And what would happen to me after they got what they wanted? Inko. I don't know, and I'd rather not think about it. Izuku. Sigh. I'm tired. I think I need to rest after all this, he said while he had his hand on his face. He didn't show to be tired physically, but mentally. Inko. Of course. Come with me, son. I will take you to a place where you can lie down, she said as she got up and guided Izuku to a place where he could rest and sleep. As for the rest of those left in the room, they just watched the mother and son walk away. Sean. Do you think he'll want to enter the animus again? He asked as he and Rebecca walked to the computers, thus moving away from the group. Rebecca. It's up to him. We can't force him into something he can't want, as much as we need the answers. William. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about, he said while looking at Nezu. Nezu. Yes, the next few days are going to be hectic, he said as he and the rest of the group left the room, but before Kana looked at Izuku, who was sitting on the couch, before leaving. Focusing a little on Izuku and Inko, who was about to leave, the boy asked a question. Izuku. Mom, what will happen from now on? Inko. I don't know. Her answer made Izuku become crestfallen, but we will try to find a way. We'll find a way to prove your innocence. Until then, stay here and rest, she said with a gentle smile before walking away. As for Izuku, he just sat on that couch, which was comfortable as he watched Sean and Rebecca looking at the screen which Izuku ended up seeing when he entered the Animus. But he was too tired to ask or do anything now. All he wanted right now was to lie down and cool off. And it wasn't long before he closed his eyes and fell asleep. End of flashback. Back where we left off, Izuku was watching that Animus before going into the bathroom to take a shower before eating. But first, he looked once more at that machine and asked himself, Izuku, what else can you show me? Opening square bracket. 1A dorm. In the common room, we see that the 1A students were there eating breakfast in total silence, kind of uncomfortable silence, and they knew it. But someone broke the silence of the place when they noticed something. Toru. Where's Ochako? Kirishima. I think she's still in her room. I didn't see her leave there. Shiro. Maybe she's still worried about Midoriya. Kyoka. Or upset with some of us. She said as she continued eating. Sato. But isn't she coming down to eat? He asked while pointing to a plate they made for her. Tenya. I think someone better bring her this to eat. Maybe I should. Suyu. I'll take it to her. She said as she got up. Tenya. Are you sure? He asked as he watched Suyu pick up the plate. Suyu. Yes, then you don't need to follow me, was the only thing she said before walking away from everyone. As soon as she walked away, Suyu went up to the floor where the girl was, and when walking and arriving at Ochako's door, Suyu knocked on the door. Suyu. Ochako, it's me, Suyu. Initially there was only silence for exactly 5 seconds, but before Suyu could call out to the girl again, Ochako opened the door. She was wearing her usual clothes, but she didn't have her usual good-natured face. Ochako. Yes, Suyu. You didn't come down to eat, so I brought you your breakfast. You need to eat, Kiro. She kindly offered the dish to Ochako, who kindly accepted. Ochako. Thanks, Su. I'll go down later to return the plate, she said with a slight smile as she was going to close the door, but Suyu stopped her. Suyu. You don't feel like talking? She asked worriedly. Ochako. Suyu. I know you're worried about Midoriya. Ochako. Since yesterday I haven't stopped worrying about him. My fear is what will happen to him. That's not even the worst part. Many people believe he is a villain when he is not. Suyu. Are you so sure about this? She asked with her hand on her chin. Ochako. Yes, because I know who he is. We've all seen what he's done and what he's willing to do. And what bothers me the most is that because of a video, everyone thinks he's a villain, she said, upset and sad. Suyu. Not everyone. Her comment made Ochako look at her. As much as that video was strange, I have my doubts that he is the traitor. I may not know Midoriya as well compared to you, but know that you are not the only one who believes in his innocence. Hiro, I'm not just referring to myself, but other of our classmates also believe, she said with a smile. Ochako. At least some believe, but even so, I'm worried about him, she said with her head down. What if that group of hooded people are torturing him? What if they're from the League of Villains who came to Suyu? Ochako, she said while placing her 2 hands on her friend's shoulder. Hey, I know the situation is already bad, but thinking about the negative is not going to help us. Ochako. You're right, I just hope he's okay, she said while looking at her room and looking at something Izuku gave her, one of her personalized All Might shirts. Assassin's hideout. As soon as Izuku showered and changed his clothes, Kana guided him to a place where he could eat, and on the way, there were other people who were doing their duties in the place and some didn't stop looking at Izuku. Izuku. Was this place right under the UA all this time? He asked incredulously as he looked at the place where many assassins were passing by. Kana. Yes. Izuku. How long has this been? Kana. Since Nezu was rescued by the assassins. Her answer made Izuku stop walking and look at the woman. That was a long time ago, way before I joined the Assassin's Creed. Weren't you hungry? She asked while showing the place in the hiding place where there were other assassins, men and women, feeding. I believe you will be able to manage very well without me. Have a good appetite. It was the only thing she said before walking away, thus leaving Izuku alone. Seeing that he was alone, Izuku walked to the queue, which only had one person in front of him, and when that person was answered, it's Izuku's turn. Izuku. Excuse me. Ah. You must be Inko's son. What do you want to eat? Izuku was going to say something, but the man interrupted him. And before you ask, we don't have katsudon. I'm sorry, young man. Izuku. Oh, then. I'll want a. I recommend you the chicken. Izuku heard a man's voice behind him, and when he turned around, he saw a man with an assassin outfit and he looked to be over 40 years old. As much as I like steak. Izuku, I'll have the chicken, please, he said to the canteen attendant, who nodded. A chicken for Inko's son, he said as he turned around, but hearing that, Izuku had a question in mind. Izuku, is my mother that well known? A little while later, we see that Izuku was sitting alone at one of the tables eating his plate of food, and before that he continued eating. Can I sit with you? That man from before appeared next to Izuku, with a plate of food in his hands. Izuku. Of course, feel free. As he said that, the man sat next to Izuku while he started to eat the steak that was on his plate. My name is Izuku Midoriya. I'm not the only one who knows. No wonder people are watching you here. He said as he noticed the assassins looking at Izuku, and each one of them was curious. Nice to meet you, I'm Callum Lynch, but you can call me Cal if you prefer. Izuku. Sure, he said as he continued eating, but he kept looking at all those people in the place, and Cal noticed that. Cal. You seem nervous. Izuku. Worse than that. I'm lost. Cal. Yeah, I heard about your situation. The Templars are complicated, even more so when they want you to enter the Animus for them. Izuku. Have you been through this? Cal. Yes, and I must say you are lucky. Izuku was confused. I would much rather enter the Animus that you entered than the Animus that I entered. Izuku. Are there other types of Animus? You accessed one of those machines, he asked surprised and curious. Cal. And I accessed the worst. That damn machine hurt. The Templars wanted me to relive the memories of the ancestor, Aguilar, but in the end, me and a small group of assassins managed to escape of Abstergo and together we made it take what doesn't belong to them. It's a long, boring story, so you won't want to know, he said while cutting and eating more of his food, and Izuku was doing the same thing, but he couldn't help but listen and become more curious. Izuku. Wait, did you say Abstergo? Izuku was shocked by what he heard. The people Abstergo are the Templars. Cal. And as you can imagine, these bastards are many. It may seem like a lot of people here, but compared to the Templars, we are very few. And yet here we are, fighting. And it looks like you entered the same boat as us. I feel sorry for you. Izuku. Can I ask you a question? Cal. You're already making one, but feel free, he said as he continued eating. Izuku. I know that assassins and Templars have been killing each other for centuries, including before Christ, but, did one of you or one of the Templars ever think about the possibility of being in peace and ending all this killing? Quote. Hearing that question, Cal stopped cutting his food and looked at Izuku, who was waiting for his answer. And from what the boy could see in Cal's eyes, he was disappointed. Cal. Some have tried, many times. Assassins like Connor Kenway have tried. Arno Dorian has tried, and so have I, but in the end the result is still the same, killing. There's no such thing of assassins and Templars stay in peace and suddenly stop killing each other. Regardless of whether you are an assassin or a Templar, there will always be someone who will not want that. Do you want some advice, young man? If you are going to enter this war of ours, then you better be prepared because there are going to be times when you have to take the blade off your wrist and kill your enemy. Izuku. Cal. I'm sorry young man, but that's the reality, he said as he got up, and if I were you, I would open my eyes now. It was the only thing he said before walking away while Izuku was speechless with everything he just heard. Izuku. Kill, so not a possibility for all this to end. Does that mean that they will all die just by killing each other? How long will this last? How long will I have to stay here? He thought worried, nervous and terrified, but before he could think more. Nezu. Hello, young Midoriya. Hearing that voice, Izuku looked to the side and saw that Nezu had been sitting on the other side this whole time. Izuku. P. Principal Nezu. Nezu. I saw that you met Callum. He entered the Assassin Order a while ago and he proved to be very dedicated. His words made Izuku look at Cal, who was walking away from the place. But try not to piss him off. He has a violent history, but he's a nice guy. Izuku. I see. Nezu. I know you're not feeling comfortable here, but believe me, it's better here than being in Tartarus or in the hands of Abstergo. Izuku. If I may ask, sir, is anyone else from UA, besides you, part of this assassin order? Nezu. No, just me. In fact, I'm not exactly one of the assassins, I'm one of their allies. I was indebted to them for saving me, so I let them hide beneath the UA. Only I can access. If they need my help, then I'll do what I can, he said as he looked at the other assassins, where one of them waved at Nezu. Good morning, rat god, said one of the assassins as he passed by them. Izuku. Why do they call you that? He asked. Nezu. I don't know, but I like it, he said with a smile. Anyway, if you need anything, just talk to one of us, he said as he was about to walk away, but... Izuku. Principal Nezu, I wanted to ask you something. His comment made Nezu look at Izuku. Since we're under the UA, could I see someone? He asked with embarrassment. Nezu. Wait, do you want to go upstairs to see someone? Izuku. Yes, but it's just to let her know I'm fine. Nezu. I don't know, young Midoriya. I can't let you compromise the assassins. Order for young Uraraka. Izuku. How did UK know I was talking about her? He asked shocked and with a flushed cheek. Nezu. That's not the point. You can't tell her about this place or the existence of assassins, so. Izuku. Wait. If you let me see her, I'll enter the Animus as many times as necessary. His words made Nezu look surprised at Izuku. I promise I won't tell her anything, and that I'll relive Hiro's memories so I can help you. I just ask that you let me see her just to say that I'm fine. Nezu. Are you sure this is what you want? Izuku nodded his head. Young love is beautiful, but it's funny. Alright, follow me, he said as he walked while Izuku followed him. But I hope you don't go back on your word. Izuku. I don't intend to, sir. But if you'll allow me, how do you know I was talking about her? Nezu. I know a lot of things, young man. I know a lot, he said with a mischievous tone as he looked at Izuku, who blushed. But see if it doesn't take too long, okay? Izuku. What do you mean? Ooh, a building. Class 1A's classroom. Inside the classroom, everyone remained quiet and serious. After Izuku was taken, the class wasn't like before and Aizawa could see that, even when he teaches. He noticed that Ochako was the most absent-minded and thoughtful. He couldn't blame her, but he knew it couldn't stay like this. Shota. Okay, class, I hope you take this material seriously, because, he stopped talking when the door opened. And when they looked who opened the door, it was none other than the director of the UA. Nezu. Sorry to miss your class, Shota. Shota. Mr. Nezu, what happened? He asked with his old tired tone, but he was curious. Nezu. Could I take one of your students to talk? He asked while looking at one person. Ochako, who was confused. I would like to have a few words with her. Shota. May I know why? Nezu. It's a private matter, but I promise it won't be long. Hearing Nezu's serious tone, Aizawa looked at Ochako and allowed her to follow the principal, which she did. On the way as they walked through the halls, Ochako didn't stop asking. Ochako. Why did you call me, sir? Nezu. You'll find out soon enough, young lady, he said without stopping walking. Ochako. Anything new about him? Do you know if he's okay? Is that why you called me? Nezu. I just want you to calm down and come into my room, he said as he opened the door to his room for the girl, who found that strange. Some things will be clarified, just come in there. Hearing that even though she found it strange, Ochako obeyed by entering the principal's office, where it had nobody. As she entered and listened to the door close, she suddenly felt a hand touch her shoulder, however. Ochako. Gunhead immobilization. She screamed while the arm of the one who touched her twisted, making the person immobilized and feeling pain. What are you? Izuku. See, calm down Ochako, it's me. It's me. Hearing that voice and seeing who she was twisting Ho's arm, Ochako became wide-eyed as she let go of Izuku's arm, who was still feeling a bit of pain. Izuku. My goodness, looks like your internship with Gunhead taught you a lot of good things, huh? He. My god, that hurts, he said while massaging his arm. Ochako. You're here." Upon hearing that, Izuku looked at the girl and saw that she had tears in her eyes. "Are you okay?" she screamed as she ran and hugged the boy in tears, and upon seeing that, Izuku hugged her back. I was worried thinking you were being tortured or worse," she said as she looked at the boy's face, who placed his hands on her cheek. "When I saw the news on TV, I saw you was." "Izuku. Relax, that's why I'm here. Not only did I come to let you know that I'm fine, I also came just to see you," he said while looking into Ochako's eyes, who was doing the same thing. With their faces close to each other, the inevitable happened. Quickly the two began to kiss, with some sticking their bodies to each other as they melted into that kiss, which carried love, longing and a little thing. And even when they stopped to catch their breath, they quickly went back to kissing more passionately, even more so when Izuku held the brown girl by her legs while they didn't stop in that wave of making out. "Ochako. I miss you," she said as she panted and got on top of Izuku, who had his back on Nezu's table. "Izuku. Me too," he said while holding Ochako's waist with his two hands. Upon feeling Izuku's hands on her waist, Ochako started to smile before they felt their mouths connect with each other again, with them feeling the urge to go further with it as they were about to take off Izuku's shirt, but before they could think of doing anything, Nezu knocked on the door. "Nezu. I must remind you that this is my room, so don't get too excited," he said while staying outside, but upon hearing his words, Izuku and Ochako blushed as they realized he was right. They would get carried away in the wrong place. "Izuku, Ochako. Sorry, sir," he said as they stood up. "Nezu. It's okay, but hurry up, please." After hearing that, the couple faced each other with still flushed cheeks. Ochako. Sorry. I think I overdid it a bit." Izuku. Actually, I also overreacted, so I also apologize," he said while rubbing his head. I missed you." Hearing that, Ochako finally remembered what she wanted to ask Izuku. "Ochako. Wait, if you're here, then that means you." Izuku. "Yes, I'm in a safe place close by, but I have to hide there, and unfortunately I can't tell you where I am." Ochako. "What, but why?" Izuku. "It's kind of complicated to explain, but let's say those people who took me out of Tartarus don't want to have their locations compromised. However, they know who might have framed me and they want to help me prove my innocence," he said while holding the girl's hands, who was listening to everything. "But, for me to be able to help more so that my innocence is proven, I'll have to do something for them." Ochako. "Is this something serious? Can I help you?" she asked worriedly. Izuku. "No, it's not something that's serious, at least I think so. But only I can do it. If I want to be able to prove that I'm innocent, then I'll have to do something that can help both them and me," he said in a serious tone. Ochako. "What are you talking about?" Izuku. I really want to tell you. But I don't want to get you involved in something that has nothing to do with you," he said while caressing the girl's face, who was accepting it willingly. Ochako. "But isn't there something I can do to help you?" Izuku. "Just your trusting me is the best help I could ask for," he said with a smile before giving the girl a kiss on the lips, which she returned. Nezu. "Young Midoriya, we have to go now," he said as he stood on the other side of the door. Hearing that, Izuku separated his lips from the girl and asked one more thing. Izuku. "In our class, does anyone else besides you believe that I'm innocent?" Ochako. "Most believe it, but there are some who still doubt it," she said disappointed. "Do you promise you'll at least be careful?" she asked worriedly. Izuku. "I promise you, and if I can, I'll try to see you again," he said while he had one of his fingers on the girl's chin, who was smiling at Izuku. "Until then, take care and don't tell anyone you saw me, okay?" Ochako. "I promise," she said while hugging Izuku, who returned the hug with affection. However, he was serious. On the other side of the door, Nezu was waiting for them before the door opened and the two young people walked out. Nezu. "Young Uraraka, when you go back to the classroom, don't talk about what happened here." "Understood." Ochako nodded. "Great, you can go." Hearing this, Ochako glanced at Izuku one more time before turning around and heading back to the classroom, but as she walked, Izuku and the girl both got a blush on their cheeks as they thought about one thing. Izuku, Ochako. I love you. As soon as they saw the girl out of sight, Nezu and Izuku entered the principal's office, and when he closed the door. Nezu. You already got what you wanted. It's time to do your part, young Midoriya. He said in a serious tone as he looked at Izuku, who was staring at the window. We have no more time to waste. Izuku. I'll do my part, sir. He said with his fists clenched. Take me to the Animus. Hearing that, Nezu and Izuku entered the elevator that was right in Nezu's room. And while the elevator was going down, Nezu noticed that Izuku was more serious than usual. Nezu. Even if you're not doing this by our order, know that you're doing the right thing, young man. Izuku. I hope so, sir. When they closed the hideout and walked to the Animus room, Izuku and Nezu saw that Rebecca and Sean were inside having coffee. Sean. This coffee came with milk. He noticed that when he took a sip. Rebecca. Stop complaining, this is really good. Nezu. Rebecca. Sean. Upon hearing their names, the couple turned to the door and saw Izuku and Nezu. Prepare the Animus, the boy will help us. Hearing this, the couple quickly turned on the computers and the screen so they could see everything Izuku saw in the Animus. And speaking of him, Izuku was walking over to the machine, and when he sat down. William. Did I hear you right? When looking at the door, everyone saw Inko and William had closed, and they were seeing Sean and Rebecca preparing the Animus. Is he about to enter the Animus? Nezu. Like I said, he's willing to help us. Inko. Son, are you sure about this? She asked worriedly as she stayed beside Izuku, who was in the right position to activate the Animus. Izuku. I've made my decision, Mom. I want to see where this goes, as nervous as I am about this experience. Sean. It's all on. Are you ready, young man? Izuku breathed a little air through his nostrils, and looking at his mother, who was worried but was respecting Izuku's decision, he gave his answer. Izuku. I hope I don't regret this. I am ready. Upon hearing Izuku, Rebecca pressed a button that activated the Animus, and upon activation, Izuku's pupils dilated as he felt his consciousness being taken elsewhere. And when he opened his eyes, Izuku was shocked to see that he was following an eagle soaring through the skies, while everything around the bird was forming and creating the world, but he could tell that it was another century. Rebecca. Midoriya, can you hear us? Izuku. Why yes, I hear you. Rebecca. Great. We're watching whatever you're seeing through, like right now for example. Izuku. Where am I now? He asked while the eagle flew by on a large hill where there was a fortress full of samurai. Sean. Young man, we're looking at feudal Japan right now. He said while William, Nezu and Inko watched everything on that screen. Alright then, where are you, hero? As soon as that eagle passed that fortress, the Animus made Izuku approach a man who was on the top of the wall, painting with a black ink what seemed to be a drawing of the mountains that he observed in front of him. This man had black hair tied in a ponytail, a short beard, and he was wearing a red kimono. By being next to that man, Izuku guessed who he might be. Izuku. You must be Hiro. Focusing now on Hiro, he was calmly drawing those mountains with a serene look in his eyes, but what he didn't seem to notice was that someone was slowly approaching behind him with one of his hands near the scabbard of his sword. And upon noticing his presence, Hiro turned around and suddenly felt a katana stop near his face, but the man wasn't surprised. I may be getting old, but it seems your ears are going deaf. Careful, Hiro, this could get you killed one day, said a man who looked to be over 50 years old and was dressed in samurai armor. Hiro. I already knew it was you, Takeda, so I didn't bother to dodge. And as you said yourself, you're getting old. I could hear your footsteps, he said with a slight tone of mockery while Takeda he puts his sword on his waist. Takeda. Careful, boy. I'm even more experienced than you, he said with a smirk as he clapped his hand on the side of Hiro's shoulder. What are you doing? Hiro. Drawing, I like to draw. You know, I have an artistic side, he said as he continued to draw. Takeda. If this is art, imagine if it wasn't, he said while looking at Hiro's drawing. It wasn't bad, but he wanted to mock anyway. A brush won't help you on the battlefield. Hiro. Not everything has to be about training or fighting. I've been through that for years. But I believe you didn't come here to talk about my drawings, he said as he continued to draw. Takeda. Straight to the point, Huh. Your father wants to see you right now. As he said that, Takeda saw that Hiro stopped moving the brush. And it's important, so don't delay. He's in his usual place. It was the only thing he said before walking away from Hiro, who just sighed. A little while later, we see that Hiro was in the center of the fortress where he had a feudal tower. And as he went up the steps and past some samurai who were greeting Hiro, he finally arrived at the room where his father was waiting for him. And when opening the door, Hiro saw that an old man, who wore the same kimono as Hiro, and who was kneeling in front of what appeared to be his sword and armor. It came sooner than I thought. I expected no less from you, he said as he turned around and looked at Hiro with a smile. Hiro, I try not to disappoint as much as I can. Anyway, may I know why you called me? Upon hearing that question, the man who was said to be Hiro's father stood up and said, Let's go out to attack once more. I called you so you could prepare for battle. Hiro. Another one. He asked without being surprised, but he didn't like it. How many times will this go on? We already talked about this, Hiro. Hiro. Yeah, but it looks like this search for this artifact, I don't know what you call it, isn't leading us anywhere. Don't talk like I'm enjoying this. It's not my fault our enemies aren't cooperating to accept our treaty, he said a little irritated as he looked at Hiro, but soon he calmed down and said, Son, what we are doing now is for a better future. Not only in Japan, but the whole world. With this, we can finally prevent more tragedies from happening. We can prevent what happened to you from happening to anyone else. Hiro. And it has to be this way. Why take an artifact we don't know how to control? It's to make us powerful, my son. With this, no one will dare to threaten or challenge us. That's why we need this. And that's why I need you, he said as he put his hand on Hiro's shoulder. I can count on you. Hiro. Hiro just nodded. I knew you wouldn't let me down. Get your equipments, we're leaving soon. Hearing that, Hiro was about to leave the room, but... Hiro. May the Father of Understanding guide us, he said with determination. Hiro. May the Father of Understanding guide us, he said despondently before leaving the room. In the present, those watching were shocked by what they heard. Sean. You're kidding me. Izuku. What happened? Rebecca. Hiro was a Templar. Izuku. What? How do you know that? He asked in shock when he heard this information. He looked at Hiro, who entered what seemed to be his room. Rebecca. What they just said is a phrase only Templars say, Father of Understanding. Izuku. But, Hiro, wasn't that one of the assassins? Nezu. This is getting more and more interesting, he said while looking at the screen, where everyone saw what Izuku was seeing, which in this case was Hiro picking up his katana and looking at his reflection on the blade, where the man showed his gaze. Izuku. What happened to you, Hiro? He asked, curious and worried about the direction this would take as he looked at Hiro's reflection in the sword. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and now we will see you in the next video.